A lot of creatives assume taxes are confusing, intimidating, or just something they'll deal with later. But understanding a few basic write offs can actually make creative life more sustainable. So today I'm sharing a few simple things that creatives often don't realize can be tax write offs. Hello, my name is Brianna Kaleen, and welcome back to the Suffering for Art podcast. Before we dive into this topic, I want to share something I'm really excited about. I'm hosting the Artist Recharge Retreat, which is designed for creatives who feel burnt out, overwhelmed, or stuck in survival mode with their work. It's a space to rest, reconnect with your creativity, and also have honest conversations about the practical side of building a sustainable creative life. It's a 3-day retreat in upstate New York in the fall of 2026. And if this sounds like something you need right now, you can check out the details in the episode description. Without further ado, let's talk about a few tax write-offs that many creatives don't realize count. A lot of us do creative research, whatever field you're in creatively, whether it's entertainment, writing, drawing, painting, sculpting. Sometimes you do have to watch films or read books, attend shows, go to museums as a part of developing your work. That can count as research. So, for example, any tickets you might have bought to go see a movie or a concert or a show, books for writers, any books that you have bought, any museum visits for visual artists, concert tickets, all of that is studying. The key is that this creative research needs to be related to your creative work. So if you are, let's say, an actor, you cannot write off a museum visit unless you are a visual artist of some kind, if that makes sense. Another thing that's a tax write-off are software and subscriptions. Most creatives use software consistently but forget it's a deductible. So for example, if you use any kind of editing software like Adobe or CapCut, any kind of design tools, again, Adobe, Canva, any kind of website that you might pay for, whether that's Squarespace or Wix, any kind of music platforms, especially if you're a musician, Spotify, Apple Music, AI tools that you might use, any cloud storage you might use, whether that's with Apple or Google or Dropbox. If you pay monthly for something that supports your creative work, it may qualify as a deductible. Another one people forget about, part of your rent or a home studio. If you work from home, a portion of your rent or utilities may qualify as a home office deduction. So the thing about this is you can't deduct your entire house unless you use your entire house for your creative work. You actually have to do it based on the percentage of square footage that you use. It can get a little bit complicated, but if you really want to dive into it, you can use something like a desk space, an editing space, an art studio, a podcast recording space, anything that you might use for work, whatever square footage you can actually use as a deductible. The one that kind of surprises people a lot is gear and equipment, which is kind of interesting that it's surprising because if you buy a camera for your work, then it is technically a deductible. If you buy an instrument, microphone, lighting, laptops, drawing tablets, hard drives, props, materials, basically any tool you use for your creative work is a tax write-off. Another thing is education. We are ever learning, ever growing in this creative career. And so anything you use to learn is a tax write-off. Courses, workshops, online classes, industry conferences, all of that supports your art. Of course, I am not a tax professional. I'm not going to sit here and act like I am. However, I have been doing my taxes all by myself for as long as I can remember. So this technically isn't financial advice, but it is the basics of learning how your creative work functions as a business, which can make a very big difference. So even if you go and get a professional's advice, make sure you bring up these things because sometimes professionals might not even think about it. And you're creative, so you should at least be thinking about it. One of the things I care about with Suffering for Art is helping artists build the life they actually want to live that can support their creativity, whether that's financially, emotionally, or relationally. And so understanding basic things like taxes is a huge part of that. It happens every single year. You would be surprised how much your deductions can actually lessen how much you have to pay in taxes. And so I would just really encourage you to study a little bit more and dive deep into it. This was a shorter episode, but it really was just to encourage you to start thinking outside of the box when it comes to your finances, especially with tax season coming up in April. I just want to say you got this. It's not as difficult as you may think it is. Google has a lot of information. YouTube University has so much information on taxes. And I would encourage you to maybe sit down and listen to a 5-minute video on taxes. One of the biggest things that I have used, and no, this is not sponsored, is an app called Keeper. It actually links with your bank account and can keep track of all of your expenses and things that you buy. And what you can do in Keeper is you can actually say if a purchase is a deductible or not. And so it keeps track of it through the entire year. And then you can also file your taxes on the app. I think the total cost might be like $200, $150, which is significantly cheaper than what it might be if you do your taxes through a professional. And so maybe look into that. I've used it for like the last 3 years. I absolutely love it. We are also currently looking to collaborate with creatives who want to help build this platform, Suffering for Art. This includes podcast editors, sound designers, social media creatives, writers, and other collaborators. If this sounds like you, check out the episode description for details on how to reach out. And as always, I am so happy to learn with you. I am so happy to grow with you. And I will see you on the next episode of Suffering for Art.